Good morning and welcome to a new episode of the Check-In, the little section of the Framework podcast where frameworkers open their doors to us and we can kind of like check in on what they're doing, how they're doing it, and most importantly, if they're keeping sane. Today with us, we have Beth Mitchell. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you going, Nico? I'm also here with my kitty.
Yes. Yes. What's her name?
Her. How dare
Her.
you? Her name is Jet, but she's French, so it's like a double T-E.
Jet. I like it.
Jet. Thank you.
Hello, Jet. Well, like I know that Jet has a really interesting backstory that I'm sure you're going to tell us in a second, but I want to give Jet a little like gold star of, I don't know, of participation because it is the first pet to ever make it to the check-in. We thought with Josh Lehman we would have Gwen, but no, Jet is the first one. She gets to be the star.
And also, I have right behind me, you ready? I have two finches.
Oh,
can you see them? Are
wait.
they in there? There they
Little
are.
birds. That's the
Yeah.
best. Wait. So you live in a Looney Tunes house. You literally have like canaries and a cat.
I'm also a Looney Tune myself. So.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Like if someone told me one day that like you actually don't move like this, they just animate you like that, I would totally believe that. 100%.
Noise. I like that. I will say the downside to being a bit of a Looney Tune and living with all of this and my being quite an eccentric person is that I live in an apartment and I swear to God, like every now and then I'll hear a chair move in one of the other apartments and I go, if they can hear that chair, if I can hear that chair moving, imagine what they hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like me just bellowing through the house.
Well, like you're very known to be extremely quiet and like to move like a cat, like be stealthy and like, yeah, well, so I imagine that they barely hear you.
Yeah, I'm so known for that. That's who I am.
But I would actually love to be your neighbor, even just for the fact of how like you laugh with your whole body. Like one of the things that is noticeable in Framework is that when you're in, everyone knows if you're in a good mood or not, because if you laugh, everyone hears it and it's the best. So like, I would actually be super glad to be your neighbor because in these times of like, what the hell is happening? Sometimes you hear like someone laughing their pants off and you're like, that's great. Yes, that's amazing.
I think it's why I haven't had complaints yet because I feel like if it was like arguing with a partner or something at that volume, or if it was like loud music, I feel like by now I would have definitely had a complaint. No one said anything, which is amazing. But on my laugh though, a little bit of history. When I grew up, I remember my father telling me that with a laugh like that, I'll never get a man. But it's funny because I sort of was like, oh, it was referred to as the hack laugh. And now that I've grown up, it was a habit that never left me. It's just, it's how I laugh. And it's actually quite frequently a topic of conversation, and it's usually an encouraged thing because I think it shows that you're genuinely having a good time.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Like, real. Like, and I throw my body at laughter. I do. I love it. Laughter,
it's the best.
Heals.
Laughter heals. Absolutely. And also I think that is, you know, like how some people like are trying to actively make themselves laugh. Like you have to see something funny to make yourself laugh, or read something funny, or like watch like memes for like 3 hours until something really hits you. But I think that it's almost a muscle. The more you laugh, the more like you exercise happiness in general. So like being never holding back your laughter, like your enjoyment of something, like actively makes you enjoy things more. So it's like everyone wins.
Everyone wins. And I hate to get all like deep and personal development on you, but just the other day in this long van trip that we were taking to Queensland, I listened to a podcast which was talking about when in this particular context, I believe the gentleman, I don't know, had an anger issue or something, and he started to exercise by right when he's about to have a reaction, he stops for one moment, he changes the demeanor of his body and he forces himself to laugh. And he said it felt stupid as hell at first, and I haven't trialed this, but it changes, it sends like the brain pathway sends signals saying, I'm happy, I'm okay. Like, so it actually diffuses.
100%. And like, obviously, like I can't bring this up as a, well, here's a scientific proof, but
Yeah.
years ago, when I cycled the length of Japan with my best friend, the comic artist, and we did the book and all of this, at one point we had this weird idea. And so we went into like one of those 100 yen shops that you find pretty much everywhere, that they sell everything that humankind has ever thought of. And we bought the things to make a little tablet, like a wooden tablet with a pin cushion on top of it. And we wrote laugh button. And then we just like did a like, I don't, let's call it a performance. We stood in a busy crossroad in Osaka and just stood there with this thing, and we're like inviting people without talking for them to press the button. And whenever like people started doing that, we would laugh out like from our lungs and with all of our body like in front of their face, just like like, and people started losing it. Like there was this little like group of people that started like showing up, and like everyone started like touching it, and we would like laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh, and it would become tiring, but we felt an insane amount of endorphins for 2 days after that. And
Wow.
the most beautiful thing is that, especially with Japanese people that are like, they're not necessarily like very extroverts in general, they're a bit shyer. People started asking us if they could hold the tablet and we could push the button for them so they could start laughing, which was amazing. And like, I don't know, it is a good exercise.
Have you ever published anything on that?
No, we don't have anything of it.
You should write about that. There's a lot in that. That's interesting. You should have filmed it. Why would you miss the opportunity for such solid content? That's so shareable.
Well, like, I don't know. This is the curse of a content creator, right? Like you are constantly creating things and coming up with ideas, and yet no one documents what you do. I know you're really good at like finding like backstage shots of you working and like little videos and things. You're really good with that. I've always been horrible at it. There is so much stuff that I've done that I have no proof whatsoever.
Actually, yeah, you don't put a lot of behind the scenes. You're really good at like talking to camera, like what you're doing at the moment. But I never actually see a lot of you in action.
Yeah,
and I think your new Tetris series, it would have been interesting to have a little bit more, because I think a lot of people would look at that and go, well, that's aesthetically pleasing, and they don't know what's gone into it.
Well, like it's something that we stumbled upon when we wanted to like, we started publishing it, and we wanted to like schedule it like and properly put a layout in place. So every post I had a carousel of writing and words and things like that. And the last one was always a backstage image. We realized that we only have images that I shot of Martina working, and we have none of me doing anything. And she was like, well, like, but I'm sure like you took some photos. I'm like, how did I take some photos? She's like, right, I have to learn to do that for the next projects, kind of thing.
Well, also, I think there would be interest in watching your post-production process a little bit, because you've crossed a couple of mediums there with illustration and photography. So I think maybe even just sort of talking and filming the screen a bit, or a couple of that. I mean, as another photographer, I would find that interesting.
Okay, well, I'll take your advice on that. Even though like you do understand that it's factual. So like she drew on things. Like they're printed photos. Like there is no like illustration on screen. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
No, this like
communicate that to me.
The artworks are physical.
Have you made that clear yet on your social media?
Maybe not. I'll be thinking about that. I'll make probably like a post or something, because
yeah, but put them up on the wall anyway, whatever. You said this podcast was about me. Stop being selfish. I know.
But so, well, like the simple question here would be, how has this whole situation affected your work? You're an underwater fine art photographer.
Yeah.
How does it work for you now?
Yeah, well, for me, it's a bit complex, because as an artist, it's not so much my inability now to shoot underwater, although I'm sure that will go for a period of time, particularly with travel bans. For me, it's more about the fact that now I can't show my work in America anymore. I can't, galleries aren't open here. And it's also, for me, travel is really important. So I was splitting my time between Queensland and Victoria for work. for work, for networking. I just had the show up there as well, right before Corona hit, and I'm so thankful that just got by.
Yeah.
Because I think that if it had hit a month earlier, I would have had to cancel my opening night. I would have had to, and I just don't know how I emotionally would have handled that. So I think, to answer your question, it affects my ability in a certain degree to get my work seen physically by more people.
Yeah.
I wanted to start looking at different ways of funding the work, because I have all these amazing concepts that I just will need assistance in funding. And they're things that involve travel and all that sort of stuff. And you know, I won't go into it, but that it puts a halt on that sort of stuff.
Yes.
It puts a halt on it. It puts a halt on commissioned work. It most likely will put a halt on art sales, which is why I'm going to need to start looking into a more e-commerce thing, and do something around that, because what can you do, you know, like, and I don't think it won't go forever, but like at the same time, it's showed me that I need to be a bit more prepared, I guess, you know.
Well, like, I don't think anyone could have been prepared for this, first of all. And second, I don't know, like, being prepared for the unknown is not necessarily always a good idea. I think that there is a bunch of like examples of people that are just ready for everything. Oh, if whatever happens, I'm going to...
Yeah.
You spend so much time and so much energy into creating that readiness that you're not actually in the moment doing the things, which in our case, it's what we do. Like, it's just a spur of the moment. Like, I had this idea, let's get on the van, let's drive 4,000 kilometers to go and shoot this person, or to retrieve a cat, like you just did. Like, little jet came down from Brisbane, you told me recently.
Yes. So I had organised, because when I moved down from Brisbane to Victoria, I'd organised that I was going to fly her down. And because she's actually my child, like, she's on the back of my arm. I love this girl. I've had her for like 10 years. She's retired now, so I wanted to give her a good retirement down here in Melbourne. And so they stopped flying. They weren't allowed to fly pets anymore, because, you know, with the travel sort of ban.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, I don't know how long this is going to go for, but I need her here. I think it's a good time for her while we're all going to be at home. What better time for her to get familiar? So anyway, yeah, we jumped in the van and we got an exemption to go up to Queensland. So we had the exemption form on the dashboard. We drove, actually really interesting. We drove up the coast, so it was beautiful. But we stopped over in this town called Malakuta, which was actually one of the towns that was heavily affected by the bushfires. And it was just by accident. Yeah, we just I got to speak with some of the locals there, and they were saying that you know, with Corona as well as the bushfire, it's really affected the mental health and the, you know, community in the area. So that was interesting. I actually learned a bit, and I'm doing a series around the bushfires at the moment. Anyway, so it's sort of got to be two birds, one stone. But anyway, so we drove up to Queensland, and I had to meet with my friend. We had to do like the exchange, and I was like, like badass, like, you know? And then
I kind of imagine like the two of you like meeting in the middle of like an empty street, and the two of you like just extending your arms as much as possible with the cat in between, kind of like a Lion King situation.
It was in a car park, and right before they came to drop the cat off, like a police car came in and like circled the place and left. I was like, we're the Bronx, like. It was fun.
That must have been the best conversation they've ever had at like the police office, like back there. Like, oh, so did you guys see something weird today? Nah, not really much. There's not a lot of people around. 2 people were exchanging cats, which was weird, but like they were respecting social distancing very strictly, so they were fine.
Hopefully the cat didn't have some cocaine shoved in the line of the stomach.
What are you telling us? Well, Jet seems pretty healthy, so like I'm gonna doubt it.
She's drug-free and thriving.
By the way,
she did really well, though. She did really well.
Good
driving
cat.
back down. Yeah, she's a great cat. Like, she's lovely. She didn't piss anywhere or anything like that. It was good. We said
But
like big up for her.
how long did it take you to drive up and to drive back?
Yeah, it took us like 3 days to get up there. I think we legged it. We sort of took the first little bit easy, and then we got news that Queensland's tightening their borders.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's just be there before that happens.
You
So
don't
we
want to be
legged it.
stuck in Queensland for sure.
I don't want to be stuck in Queensland. No, I love Queensland, but and then back down, we actually took our time. It was so pretty because it was really intense for Jet to just be in the back of the van, like for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
So we were stopping, like we stopped at some really lovely places, and it was really fun to see Jet like get out of the van and like explore. It was cute. I loved it. And the sunset, the ocean. It was amazing. I started sketching. Bitch, I started sketching.
That is amazing.
But I did some good. I was doing plant portraits. That was really smart. I did a beautiful portrait of my 2 birds, and I did like a portrait of this girl with long blue hair. So basically, I'm now an artist in drawing.
Yeah. Now you just like dove into mixed media. That is what is going to happen.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to print my photos out in black and white, and I'm going to watercolor them.
Why not? I think that seriously.
I always wanted to do that.
Exactly. So in this era of like, well, we're going to call it an era, but like in this moment of insane boredom and lack of work the way we know it, and like the inability to do things exactly the way we learned how to. So like we have some limitations. Why not exploring? Like I think that the main thing is that we now have time, probably not exactly the right headspace, but like we have the ability to experiment and to fuck things up and to just go like, hey, you know, in that month I tried 17,000 things and they all sucked, and it's fine. You know, like everyone's staying put, so why not?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Seriously, like for me with the whole corona stuff, if we're going to sort of do a bit of a segue creatively, I have felt like this time, putting aside the negatives, of course the negatives are there, of course like people lost their lives and stuff.
Yes.
Putting that aside, I have really loved the space. Even though the work suffered and will continue to, I have really enjoyed how the whole world has given everyone permission to slow and to appreciate what's around you. My thought is, I mean, I've spent a lot of time now, particularly the last 12 months, really working on my social media. I mean, not social media, sorry, my on my mental health. Social media and mental health, man. I have spent time.
What a hiccup. What a hiccup.
Are you going to edit? No. My mental health. And for me, I think now that time has been given to us all, it's going to make us stop and go, am I happy with where I am as a person? Am I happy with thoughts slowing down, because people don't like to be by themselves, stuck thinking their own thoughts.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a time that people will actually go, what do I need to change? What are those core foundational things I need to change, which will actually give us real happiness? That's not just dependent on external factors.
I agree. I think it's a very brave. No. I think it's a very brave and difficult process, the one you're talking about. But for sure, we do have the chance to do it now. If people can get into that headspace, and even myself, I have not been able to. So far, it's not been like hey, I can slow down and think of things. Like it's usually, it's a mix of boredom and panic. Like very controlled panic, as in like I'm fine, but I go like, oh, what should I do? How do I give myself inputs? How do I like push myself to do things? No, I shouldn't do that. I should just like be relaxed and stuff. And I was like, why are you being relaxed? The world is still going on. So it's a mix of things. But I think like eventually, like we will get used to it a bit more. So I hope I
That's
can go through your process, like the one that you just described, because it feels very healthy.
yeah. But can I ask you though, because that's interesting because we're both creatives. Now, I have this endless list of, creative business development I want to do, of planning, of website, improve, whatever. I have this endless list. So for me, there's always something I could be doing. I guess mixed with a really nice feeling environment and a comfortability in being slow. That sort of made it balanced a bit more. But for you, where are you at creatively? Are you pursuing new projects? What are you doing? Like, are you planning?
So it's been 3 weeks now, and yes, I am starting to think of new projects, of new things. I find it complex because I thrive in contact with people. So as
Yeah,
I've always said, like photography is a byproduct of my favorite
yeah,
activity, which is getting in touch with people and getting to know them
yeah.
and broadcasting that. So find that part really difficult because beside my 3 housemates that are amazing, it's not like I can get in touch with a lot of people, and like I have to fight the urge to just go out with a camera and go like, oh well, I'll put a mask and stuff and I'll photograph people going on about their lives and like document it. I'm like, yes, I should be doing that, but also, is it the most responsible thing to do for others? Am I just putting my necessity to just be out there to like
Wow.
ahead of what is the responsible behavior in this situation? Am I leading, like showing with a good example or not? So there is a lot of that going on, but slowly I'm starting to, I don't know, vet through all of the ideas that I had that are just very derivative and very non-original, and just go like, well, like this you're thinking of because you want to solve this problem. This you're thinking of because you missed this thing and you want to recreate it. So they're not good ideas. They're just solutions for you. Where is the good idea in there? Like I'm slowly getting closer to one.
You should be photographing outside. Let me just say why.
Yeah, do it.
Because museums have been encouraging artists to document this time because they want to educate your future generations about how we coped with it, blah, 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 for when it happens again. For me, I sort of feel like, and with a long lens, with one of those telephotos, if you can, you probably can't because a lot of your work's probably 50 mil lenses, a bit of a technical thing in there, but I feel like that there's, like, you have a passion to do that. There's actually a drive in you to do that because you are people focused.
Yeah.
I feel like you should, 100%, I feel like you should do a portrait a day. Well, let's start that project up again. Corona portraits.
Yeah, well, like I agree, but then there is part, like the social conscious part of me says like, well, for example, like if I put myself out and at risk, let's say, then I'm putting my housemates at risk. Because every night then I come back home and all this, and yes, like you're taking pictures and you're telling stories through Instagram or making a project show, but like, how is everyone else that like has what they want to do and what they would like to do limited, and they can't do anything about it? And here I am just going like, well, I have a pass because I'm an artist. Like I just have to find the right balance.
But I can totally understand there being a balance there. And you're probably right. And can I just say, if we were America, I feel like the risk of doing that would almost be too much. We've been lucky that because we're in Australia, we're on an island.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a great government compared to the US. Riddled with flaws like the rest of us, but seriously.
But not as many as the US.
We need to be very grateful for that. So maybe there will come a time soon where you'll be able to do that and it'll be safe too. But yeah.
Absolutely. I think so.
I understand what you're saying.
Beth, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been amazing. I want to keep this chat going on forever.
Stop it. You say that to everyone.
No, I don't. I say it to you only.
It's been amazing seeing you.
It's been amazing seeing you, and I'm lucky that I can do this thing for all of Framework, so everyone can see each other's faces, and we all know that like we're keeping well, we're keeping creative, we're trying to do our best, and we're all alive, and we can't wait to see each other after all of this is done.
Yes, thank you, Miss Framework.
I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
See ya.